So today I'm speaking with Viktoria Altman of BSPE Legal Marketing. I'm extremely excited to have this conversation because I can say with hand on heart that Viktoria has been the most successful person that has come through the RevPack Sales Accelerator. There are many reasons for that, and hopefully those reasons will come to the forefront of this chat that we have so that other people, particularly agency owners, can glean some insights of why was Viktoria able to get such fast results in a very short space of time. So anyway, over to you, Viktoria. Maybe just give a quick introduction of yourself, what type of business you're in, how long you've been in business.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Viktoria Altman. I started my company in March 2020. As soon as I realized that we were not going back to business as usual due to COVID. Yeah, we've been in business for 5 years. We have dozens of clients, and I have about 15 employees right now.
Okay, good stuff. Also, to add some context for people who might view this for the first time, I met Victoria at SEO conference in Vietnam called SEO Mastery. It was funny how we met. Like Victoria would be considered, I guess, a leader in her field. She speaks on stage quite often. So I saw Victoria. She was preparing for a speech, and somehow she ended up in a room where I was doing a workshop on sales. So serendipity aligned. Eventually we met, we had some conversations, but maybe before we started working together, Victoria, I'm curious, like what was going on in your business? Like what was the state of sales? What was good? What was bad?
So we've always been very good at client retention. We deliver very good products. Sales is definitely something that was a struggle for me. I tend to be very much a take it or leave it person. I know I'm the best and I don't have to prove it to you. So I would say out of 10 sales goals, I would maybe sign up one, maybe one or two, but there was pretty low closing rate for us when we started.
I know maybe from the workshop I gave, I probably went into some of those areas of like how to create a sales process, how to close more deals. What maybe was it for you that you were like, maybe this is something I should actually work on. Maybe I should fix.
So I tend to hire based on personality, and I could easily see that you were very much a salesperson. So that's something that I'm lacking. So I thought that you went up there, yeah, I could see you had a system, I could see you had the right personality for it, and I figured I also spoke with Matt, and he very highly recommended you. So I figured that this would be probably a good opportunity for me to explore.
Good. You were in business 5 years at that stage. So obviously your business was getting to a decent level. You had a team. But how was this sales issue maybe impacting other areas of the business or impacting revenue?
Well, I can say it was a little bit frustrating because I felt like I was spending some time trying to explain to these people that they needed to move and I just couldn't get through to them. So on a personal level, it was more frustrating than anything. It didn't really stop us from growing. It probably stopped us from growing as quickly as we can. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating on a personal level.
Yeah. I think that the from our earliest conversations, the big takeaway I had from you was like this person to me seemed like someone who should be good at sales. I think for people who know Victoria, they know she's, what's called like a high D personality, straight to the point, she's going to give it to you straight. But in a sales scenario, that can be a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, Heidi, I think is an understatement for me. I think Mads told me multiple times that I'm the most dominant person in every room I enter. Yes, it can be a double-edged sword, and there is certainly a way to present things to people that don't necessarily involve beating them over the head with it, which is not a natural skill for me, let's just say.
For people who are watching this, the challenge there as well, if you're someone who's like Victoria, who is an expert in their domain, and then they're speaking with someone who is not an expert, and you're trying to give them information that will help them, and it's not seemingly going through, that can be very frustrating. This is where sales can then start to become very emotional for the founder or the owner.
I definitely felt like I couldn't get through to them and explain to them why we were the best, which we are often. And if we're not, I
Yeah.
will very clearly tell you, I don't think we can handle this because of this and this and this. But I think there's a difference between knowing something and being able to translate it to the potential client.
Yeah. I assume that must have been frustrating because knowing you, like one of the big things that became very evident was like you actually do care about your clients and you have such low churn. Like once you get a client, they become very valuable to you.
Yeah. We have almost no churn. And yes, it was very frustrating because I really do want to help these people. A lot of them are actually really nice people. They're small business owners. You know, a lot of times they're employing staff, they're generating jobs, and I know I could help them, but it's almost like they won't give me the chance. And instead, it's not just that they won't give me a chance, but they'll go to someone who I know is going to take advantage of them. And they get taken advantage of. They spend thousands of dollars a month on getting no work done. It's like, oh, it's so frustrating, you know? So definitely, yeah, that was definitely an issue for us.
Got it. Before you decided to work with RevPack, was there anything you were maybe unsure of or skeptical of? Because the reason I'm asking is because sales is a word that a lot of if I ask an owner what does sales mean to you or what comes to your mind when you think of sales, a lot of different business owners will give very different answers and a lot of them are generally negative.
Maybe to an extent. I think I understand that it's an investment and it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
But there's a saying in Russian, those who don't risk don't drink champagne. So you can't really grow your business without taking some risks. And I thought the risk here was very limited. I could tell you were a good salesperson. I could tell you had a good system. You came highly recommended. So it was a very limited risk for me. You know, nothing terrible was going to happen if this didn't work out. I'm glad it worked out as it did. Certainly, that's been a very good investment. You know, everything in life is a little bit of risk. You always have to invest in your business, no matter what you do.
Yeah. That's what they say, no risk, no reward, right? So you understood, okay, there might have been some risk. I came highly recommended. When we started working together, I guess maybe from your perspective, like how would you describe the process we went through?
The sales part was great.
So once you started, how quickly did you start to see results?
Once we did the lesson on the first call, so that was what, 3, 4 weeks in,
Yeah,
that was helpful. And it was those, you know, and I wasn't expecting like 100% revenue income, you know, return in like the first week. I mean, that's not how business works.
yeah.
But I think once we got into the actual calls, that's when things got really helpful.
So to give context, generally the first month is the foundational stuff. It's the stuff that isn't sexy, but it's the stuff in the long term that's important, particularly when you start hiring out for some of these roles. If you want to build a sales team to replace you, it's those elements like having a CRM that will be important. But if we're maybe jump past that, so when you talk about maybe week four, when you started to see some results, can you maybe talk a bit more about that? So for context for people listening, this is when we're really starting to get into the sales process, like how to structure it and what to say along the way.
Yeah, I would say the part where we begin with understanding the client, accommodating the client in the presentation, putting together this really impressive presentation that really takes their specific need and we dive into their need, we kind of enforce on them why this needs to be taken care of now, and then show how we're the solution to the problem. That's the part we were really missing. And I'll be very honest with you, it's a much longer process than what I used to do. I used to kind of take a lot of shortcuts there because I didn't know how to do it properly. So I think it was that explanation of really understanding, accommodating, kind of really discussing with the client what the problem is, why it's the problem now. I know that there was quite a few people before who knew the problem, understood the problem, but we didn't create that urgency. And so as a result, they wouldn't sign and they would go and they would get taken advantage of, right? Now I'm in a position where I can create that urgency without sounding like I'm selling them a used car, you know, but
Yeah.
still being very consultative and professional about it, but explaining to them the urgency, the actual urgency they're seeing. and explain to them why we are the best. And then if they go and they have a sales presentation from another client, from another agency, we blow it so hard out of the water that it's not even a question which one they should go with. It's not even, it's, just having that very detailed process. I've closed pretty much every deal I've attempted to. The only deal I haven't closed was the one where they were ready to sign, but I have so many people coming on board, I don't think I could take them on. So I literally said to these guys, I said, do you think maybe you want to think about it a little bit? Let's give it a few weeks.
Yeah. For other people's reference, right? This was the first time I worked with an agency owner who essentially sabotaged their own call because they
Yeah.
couldn't work with any more clients because they were basically closing every single lead that they were starting to get.
Yeah, it's a big client, and they were definitely going to close. And I was like, I'm just sitting there going, shit. And I'm like, oh, do you have any vacations coming up? I literally like did the reverse of what you taught and put them in the position where they felt that they needed to take more time because normally your style is sort of to teach them the urgency, right? We're not creating this urgency. This is actually really real urgency. We're just showing it to them. But I created this sort of a space for them to take back to step back because I really didn't think I could onboard them within as soon as they wanted to.
Yeah. First agency I've worked with who started sabotaging deals, but you're not the first agency I've come across where essentially in their sales process, they're trying to do everything on one call. They're trying to ask questions, close, because they view parts of this as being inefficient. However, the results don't lie. A lot of those agencies that I initially work with, they'll have a close percentage below 10%, right? Maybe for you, and we'll wrap up with maybe two or three more questions. What have been the specific results that you've seen since working with RevPack? So I know you mentioned one, the close rate.
Yeah, the close rate is really high. I think it's actually made me a better marketer because the stuff that you teach is so fundamental. Designing websites, now I'm thinking of it like, am I creating urgency for for the clients of my client? Am I using those kind of sales perspectives, even on things like just a website? I actually think it made me better at my job as well. I'm always looking to learn. So yeah, I definitely think it's been transformational for us.
Glad to hear it. Now that you've, I guess, started closing most of those leads that have come in, right? Obviously, that's going to lead to a big jump in revenue. Since you've started getting that revenue, I guess what has started to change overall in the business? Like, has your plans changed? Are you getting more aggressive with hiring? What has it enabled you to do, maybe that you wouldn't have before?
I would love to get more aggressive with hiring. Unfortunately, I can't because very few people are good enough to work for us. Just people just don't want to think. We're doing more automations. In terms of how the agency has transformed, we've always had a really good system. We just need more. It's a total different discussion, but I can't. I haven't hired anybody in 4 months, not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
People are just not thinking for themselves. They're using ChatGPT to answer, and it's just not, you know, it's just not sufficient. It's not what we're looking for.
We were speaking about this before we jumped in. It's like, if you can think, if you can learn, and if you can put in some effort, it's not that hard to stand out anymore. But still, even, businesses who, let's say they have a low close rate or they're not bringing more leads, they're very slow to change, right? So for
Yeah.
you, would you recommend RevPack? And if so, to who and why?
Yes, absolutely. I would recommend RevPack to anyone who has a great product but doesn't have a great sales system. So it's definitely not something if you're trying to fake your way into a client's pants, then RevPack is not for you. You need to work out a system. But if you have a great system, if you have a great product, and the one thing that you're missing is the sales part, then absolutely, I would definitely recommend them working with you, and don't even worry about the money because you'll make it back, assuming you follow the system.
And assuming you do some work.
You got to do a little work. That goes without saying.
Yes, Victoria, thanks for jumping on today. Yeah, super proud of what you achieved. I'll just leave it at that. Again, probably
Appreciate
the
it.
the most successful and hardworking, I think, agency owner I've come across in a while. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'll be cheering you on from the sidelines. And the odd
I
comment on
appreciate that.
Facebook.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks, Alan.
Go on. Have a great day.
See you
Take
later.
care.
Gotta run.